When my son David handed me a beautifully wrapped box with the words, "Mom, you're useless now," I thought it was a cruel joke. But inside was a voucher for a retirement home called Sunset Valley with a note, "Your new life starts tomorrow." I smiled and said, "Great, tomorrow I'll tell you about the $12 million trust fund." My name is Jennifer Alexander. I'm 80 years old, and I never imagined I'd be telling a story about how my own children betrayed me on the most important day of my life. But sometimes the truth is more terrifying than any fiction. I live in Portland, Oregon, in the house my late husband, Richard, built 45 years ago. After his death 5 years ago, this house became more than just a home. It became a sanctuary of memories. Every corner holds moments of our life together, raising our 3 children, celebrating family holidays, and quiet evenings by the fireplace. October 15, 2024 was supposed to be a special day. My 80th birthday, surely a reason to celebrate. I spent 2 weeks preparing, ordering my kids' favorite dishes, decorating the house, even hiring a photographer to capture what I hoped would be a beautiful family memory. My children, David, 52, a financial advisor in Seattle, Susan, 48, who owns a chain of beauty salons in Portland, and Michael, 44, a successful lawyer in San Francisco. They've all achieved success in life, and I've always been proud of them. I thought they were proud of me too. In the 5 years since Richard's death, I've tried not to be a burden to my children but a source of support. When David struggled with his mortgage, I quietly transferred him $50,000. When Susan opened her 3rd salon, I invested $75,000 in her business. I helped Michael pay for his kids' private school tuition, another $60,000. I never asked for gratitude. Isn't that what parental love is? Giving without expecting anything in return. On the morning of October 15, I woke up in high spirits. The house smelled of fresh chrysanthemums I'd bought the day before at my favorite florist. On the kitchen counter sat a massive red velvet cake, the same one Richard ordered for me every year. The kids were supposed to arrive at 3. By 2, I was ready. I wore my favorite blue dress, which Richard always said matched the color of my eyes, got my hair done at the salon, and even put on makeup, something I rarely did anymore. David arrived first, punctual as always. Tall, with graying temples, in an expensive suit, he looked just like his father at the age when we met. "Hi, Mom," he said, giving me a hug, but it felt formal, lacking the warmth I remembered. David, darling, how's everything? How's had been his wife for 25 years. "Everything's fine, it's coming later, she's got some things to do." Something in his tone put me on edge. Always came to family gatherings, she loved them. Susan arrived half an hour later. My daughter has always been beautiful, but today she looked tense. Her usually perfect hair was slightly disheveled, and her eyes avoided mine. "Mom, happy birthday," she said, pecking me on the cheek before quickly stepping away. "You look wonderful. How's the salon business?" "Fine," she replied curtly, then joined David. Michael arrived last at 3:30. My youngest has always been the most emotional of my children, but today he seemed distant too. "Mom, happy birthday," he said, giving me a stronger hug than the others, but it still felt insincere. We sat at the table, set with the best china, a wedding gift from Richard's parents. I'd prepared roasted turkey with cranberry sauce for David, lasagna from his Italian grandmother's recipe for Susan, and the famous meatballs Michael loved since childhood. But the conversation didn't flow. The kids exchanged glances, answered my questions briefly, clearly preoccupied. "Kids, what's going on?" I finally asked. "It's my birthday and you're acting like you're at a funeral." David cleared his throat and looked at his siblings. "Mom, we need to talk." My heart sank. Those words never meant anything good. "Of course, honey, about what?" "About your future." Susan pulled a folder from her bag. "Mom, we're all really worried about you. You're living alone in this huge house and you're 80. "I'm perfectly fine," I interrupted. "I manage just fine." "Mom, last week you forgot to turn off the stove," Michael said. That was true. I had forgotten to turn off a burner after making breakfast, but it was just once. "It was an accident." "And a month ago you got lost coming back from the store," Susan added. That was true, too. I'd driven into an unfamiliar neighborhood and gotten confused, but I made it home. Kids, I understand your concern, but... Mom, David leaned forward, we've made a decision. We think you need professional care. What kind of care? David placed a beautifully wrapped box in front of me. Your birthday present. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a glossy brochure for Sunset Valley Retirement Home and a voucher, an official voucher for permanent residence. The world spun around me. What is this? Mom, it's a wonderful place, Susan said quickly. Professional nurses, 3 meals a day, entertainment programs. You want to put me in a retirement home. Not put you, Mom, provide you with the best care, Michael said, but his voice lacked conviction. On my birthday. David cleared his throat again. Mom, you have to understand, you're useless now. You can't take care of yourself, you're forgetful, this house is too big for you. Useless? My own son called me useless. David, Susan snapped, not so harsh. Then how, Mom, we're telling the truth. You've become a burden to all of us. We're constantly worried something will happen to you. This way you'll be safe. Safe in a retirement home. Far from my home, my memories of Richard, the life I'd built for 80 years. When am I supposed to move? Tomorrow, Michael said. We've already arranged everything. A car will come in the morning to pick you up and your things. Tomorrow, they plan to get rid of me tomorrow. And the house. The kids exchanged glances. We'll sell it, Susan said. The money will go toward paying for the retirement home. And what's left? Mom, don't worry about that, David waved his hand. We'll take care of everything. Take care of everything, of course. Sell my house, my life, and split the proceeds among themselves. I sat there staring at the voucher, feeling something die inside me. Not just a broken heart, my faith in my children's love for me was dying. Mom, you understand this is for the best, right? Michael asked softly. I understood that my children saw me as a burden. I understood that my house and my money meant more to them than I did. But they didn't know one crucial thing. I looked up and smiled. For the first time that day, I smiled genuinely. You know what, kids? This is a wonderful gift. They looked surprised. Really? Yes, and you know what I'm going to do tomorrow before heading to Sunset Valley. What, Mom? I'm going to meet with my lawyer, Robert. We have a very important meeting scheduled. Why a lawyer? David frowned. To tell you about the trust fund. What trust fund? My smile widened. The one your father set up before he died, for $12 million. The silence in the room was deafening. What? Susan whispered. $12 million, dear. Your father was a very forward-thinking man and very wise. Mom, are you joking? David went pale. Not at all, and tomorrow you'll all find out who gets that inheritance. I stood up from the table, still holding the retirement home voucher. Now, my dear children, let's cut the cake. It is my birthday after all. After the kids left, and they left quickly once I mentioned the trust fund, I sat in Richard's armchair by the fireplace and let myself cry. 80 years of life, 55 years of marriage, 3 children I loved more than my own life. And this was the result, a voucher for a retirement home as a birthday gift. But the tears didn't last long, because I had a plan. You see, I lied to my children. There was no trust fund, but what I did have was far more interesting. In the 5 years since Richard's death, I hadn't been idle. My husband left me a decent inheritance, about $1 million in various investments, plus the house worth $1.5 million, but I didn't squander that money. Instead, I quietly started investing. Gold, tech stocks, real estate in up-and-coming areas. Over 5 years, my wealth grew to $12 million, and no one knew. Not even my lawyer, Robert, knew the full picture. I worked with multiple financial advisors and kept my money in different banks. The classic rule of the wealthy: never put all your eggs in one basket. The next morning, October 16, at 8 a.m., the phone rang. It was Susan. "Mom, good morning. How'd you sleep?" Her voice was syrupy sweet. Funny how quickly her tone changed after I mentioned $12 million. "Wonderfully, dear." "Mom, about that trust fund, can you tell me more?" "Of course, we'll talk when you come to take me to the retirement home." Maybe we should hold off on the move until we sort out the inheritance." "Oh, so that's how it was. Yesterday I was useless and needed to be shipped off immediately, but mention money and plans change fast." "No, dear, you said I need professional care. I wouldn't want to go against your wise decision." "But Mom, see you soon." 10 minutes later, David called. "Mom, I was up all night thinking about our talk. Maybe we rushed into the retirement home thing." "I don't think so, David. You said I was useless." "I didn't mean it like that." "Then what did you mean?" A pause. "Mom, let's meet and talk calmly." "We'll talk when you come to pick me up." At 8:30, Michael called. "Mom, maybe we should delay the move for a week or two." "Why, dear?" "To think things through properly." "Kids, you're funny. Yesterday you were so sure of your decision. What changed?" Of course I knew what changed. $12 million changed. At 10 a.m. I did go to a lawyer, but not Robert. I made that name up yesterday. I went to Wilson, a female attorney who'd been helping me with investments for the past 2 years. Jennifer, what brings you here? Was surprised by my unannounced visit. I need help, serious help. I told her about my birthday, the retirement home voucher, and my kids' reaction to the trust fund mention. Do you want to disinherit them? Asked. No, I want to teach them a lesson that parents aren't just a source of money. And how do you plan to do that? That's where I need your professional advice. We talked for 2 hours. The plan we came up with was devilishly good. When I got home, all 3 kids were waiting in the living room, sitting on the couch like called to the principal's office. Mom, where were you? David asked. With the lawyer, as promised. And what did he say? My lawyer's a woman, and she said a lot of interesting things. I sat in the armchair across from them. Kids, yesterday you decided my future without my input. Today, I'm deciding yours. What do you mean? Susan nervously fiddled with her purse strap. I mean the inheritance. Mom, can you tell us about the trust fund first? Michael tried to smile. Of course, but first, answer one question. What were you planning to do with my house and savings after sending me to the retirement home? They exchanged glances. Mom, we said the money would go toward your care, David said. The whole amount, the house is worth $1.5 million, plus my bank accounts, another $200,000. The retirement home costs $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year. Simple math says that's enough for 35 years. I'm 80. Were you expecting me to live to 115? Silence. And what were you planning to do with the rest? An even longer silence. Finally, Susan spoke. Mom, well, if anything was left, we'd split it among ourselves. Fairly, right? Fairly, I nodded. And when did you decide this? What do you mean? When did you decide to split my inheritance? Before yesterday or after? David's face turned red. Mom, we were just discussing practical matters. Answer the question, David. We talked about it a week ago. So a week ago, you were already planning to send me to a retirement home. No, I mean, we were just considering options. And the most appealing option was the one where I disappear from your lives, but my money stays. Michael stood up. Mom, that's not fair. We care about you. Care, my dear son, yesterday on my birthday, you called me useless. I didn't mean it like that. Then what did you mean? Explain. Michael sat back down and lowered his head. I meant you can't live alone anymore. But you could said it differently, right? Yes, I'm sorry. Apology accepted. Now let's talk about the trust fund. All three leaned forward. The trust fund exists, I began. It's indeed $12 million. Their eyes lit up. And the will was drafted last night after you left. Mom, who's the beneficiary? Susan whispered. I smiled. A charity organization in Seattle called Care for the Elderly. The room felt like a bomb had gone off. What? David shouted. $12 million will go to an organization that builds modern retirement homes with humane conditions. Mom, you can't be serious. Susan jumped up from the couch. Dead serious. But we're your children. Michael was pale as a sheet. Yes, and yesterday my children gave me a retirement home voucher for my birthday, calling me useless. Mom, we can fix this. David grabbed my hands. We won't send you to the retirement home, you'll stay here. Too late, dear, the will is signed. Wills can be changed, Susan shouted. They can, but I don't want to. Mom, please, Michael dropped to his knees beside my chair. We messed up, we love you. Love? I looked at him. Yesterday you loved my money, today you love me. What changed? We realized we were wrong. What exactly did you realize? That we shouldn't have treated you like that. And if there weren't $12 million, if I only had the house and $200,000 in savings, would you have realized you were wrong then? They were silent. Exactly, you only realized it when you heard about the big money. I stood up. Now excuse me, I need to pack for the retirement home, as you planned. Mom, don't go, Susan grabbed my arm. Let go, dear, you said yesterday this was for the best. I was wrong. No, you were honest, more honest than ever. I headed to the stairs. The car's coming in an hour, my things are already packed. Mom, they called after me. But I didn't turn back. The Sunset Valley retirement home wasn't as bad as I'd feared. It wasn't my home, but the conditions were decent. A private room with a garden view, 3 meals a day, entertainment programs. The staff was friendly. I especially liked a nurse in her 40s who worked the evening shift. Mrs. Alexander, you're taking the move very calmly, she said on my second day. Most residents struggle with leaving their homes at first. You know, sometimes change is for the better. Will your kids visit often? I chuckled. Oh, I think they'll be regular visitors. And I wasn't wrong. On my third day, all 3 kids showed up with flowers and boxes of chocolates. Mom, how are you feeling? David looked exhausted. Wonderful, dear, it's not bad here. Mom, we need to talk, Susan said. About what? The will. What's wrong with it? Mom, we're your children, Michael sat on my bed. We have a right to the inheritance. Do you? Who told you that? It's only natural. Natural, David, is it natural to send your mother to a retirement home on her birthday? Mom, we've already apologized. When? Now. Oh, I see. You found out about the money and now you're apologizing. Susan burst into tears. Mom, we were awful, we get it, but you love us. I do, but love doesn't mean I have to reward you for betrayal. Betrayal, David frowned, that's a strong word. What else do you call it when your kids plan to get rid of you to split your assets? We wanted to ensure your care. For $4,000 a month when the house is worth $1.5 million, very generous of you to leave me such a pittance. David flushed. Mom, you're misunderstanding everything. No, David, for the first time in a long time, I understand everything perfectly. Michael stood and paced the room. Mom, let's be realistic. $12 million is a fortune. You can't just give it to strangers. Why not? It's my money. But we're your family. Family? I laughed. Michael, real family doesn't throw their elderly on the scrap heap. Susan stopped crying and glared at me. Mom, you're acting like a spoiled child. We were trying to do what's best. Best for whom, dear? For everyone. Especially your wallets. David stood abruptly. Enough, Mom, we can contest the will in court. Go ahead and try. We have proof you're not in your right mind. You forgot the stove you got lost a month ago. I smiled. David, dear, you forgot one important detail. What? For the past 5 years, I've turned your father's inheritance into a $12 million fortune. Do you think a woman who's not in her right mind could do that? They fell silent. Besides, my lawyer arranged a medical evaluation. Yesterday, before signing the will, 2 independent psychiatrists examined me. Their conclusion is clear: I'm fully competent. Mom, Susan began. Now please leave. Visiting hours are over. We'll be back, David warned. Of course you will. You've got 12 million reasons to. The next month was surprisingly peaceful. The kids visited every other day, each time with new arguments for why I should change the will. David tried to appeal to pity. Mom, I've got a mortgage, kids to put through college. Susan spoke of business troubles. Mom, the salons are losing money. I need investments. Michael swore his love. Mom, you know I was always your favorite. But the real fun began when they realized tears and plays weren't working. David brought his lawyer, who tried to convince me I didn't fully understand the consequences of my decisions. Susan came with a psychologist who wanted to help me process the trauma of losing my husband. Michael showed up with a $1,000 bouquet and offered to pay for a VIP suite in the best retirement home in the country. It would have been amusing if it weren't so sad. But the real surprise came at the end of the month. I was sitting in the retirement home's garden, reading a book, when I heard familiar voices. My kids were near the main entrance, arguing heatedly. We need to act more decisively, David said. What do you suggest? Susan asked. There are ways to declare someone incompetent, even with mental health records. You want to sue Mom? Michael sounded horrified. What else can we do? She's clearly not right if she's ready to give 12 million to strangers. But a lawsuit could drag on for years. And we'll get all the monies. I quietly got up and went to my room. This I hadn't expected. My own children were ready to declare me insane for money. That evening, I called Wilson. I need to amend the will. What changes, Jennifer? I want to add a clause. If any of my children try to contest the will or have me declared incompetent, they're automatically disinherited, including from family heirlooms. That's doable, are you sure? Absolutely. 2 weeks later, the kids' visits continued, but their tone had shifted from soft persuasion to irritation. Mom, you're just punishing us, Susan declared. For what? For trying to take care of you. Take care, interesting choice of words. Mom, stop pretending, David exploded. You know we didn't mean any harm. Then what did you mean? We were worried about you. Worried, David dear, yesterday I overheard you telling Susan you're ready to have me declared incompetent for the money. David paled. You were eavesdropping. No, you were just loud enough. Susan and Michael stared at their brother. David, you're insane, Susan hissed, suing Mom. What else can we do? She won't listen. Because she's right, Michael said suddenly. Everyone turned to him. What? Susan asked. Mom's right, we acted despicably. Michael sat beside my bed and lowered his head. Mom, I've always admired you. You raised us, supported Dad's business, never complained about being alone after he died, and we acted like vultures. He looked up, eyes full of tears. I'm sorry, I'm not asking for the money back. Just forgive me for forgetting who you are. My heart clenched. My youngest had always been the sensitive one. Michael, Mom, can I visit you just because? No talk about money, just because I miss you. I reached out and touched his cheek. Of course, dear. David scoffed. Very touching, Michael was always the favorite. David, Susan snapped. What, are we pretending everything's fine? Mom disinherited us over a silly grudge. I looked at my eldest son. David, a silly grudge is when a child cries over a broken toy. What you did is called betrayal. We didn't betray you. No, what do you call it when your kids plan to get rid of you for your money? We were planning to ensure your care. With my own money while keeping the rest. David was silent. Answer, David, isn't that true? You wouldn't have spent all that money anyway. Oh, I see. You decided I don't have the right to manage my own money. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? David stood. You know what, Mom, do what you want, but don't expect me to pretend you're being fair. He headed for the door. David, I called. He turned. Don't pretend you were being fair either. David slammed the door. Susan shifted uncomfortably. Mom, he's upset. And are you upset? She paused, then nodded. Yes, but not about the money. Then what? That we've lost you. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom, I know we were wrong. Isn't there a way to fix this? There is. How? Learn to love me for me, not my money. We already do. Prove it. How? Michael's already started. What about you? Susan thought for a moment. Mom, can I come by every weekend just to talk? You can. And will you tell me about Dad? I know so little about your early years. I will. She stood and kissed my forehead. Thank you, Mom. 6 months passed. Michael and Susan visited regularly, and slowly our relationship began to heal. David came rarely and was always cold, but he came. One morning, the retirement home's director, Mrs. Johnson, called me to her office. Mrs. Alexander, we have an unusual request. I'm listening. You know our facility is struggling financially. I nodded. It was obvious from the outdated equipment and reduced menu. We've had an offer to buy the home. And the buyer wants to meet you specifically. Me, why? He said you know him. An hour later, an elegant man in his 50s, dressed in an expensive suit, entered Mrs. Johnson's office. Hello, Mrs. Alexander. I'm James Richardson, representing the Care for the Elderly charity. My breath caught, the very organization I'd willed my money to. Mr. Richardson, what a coincidence. No coincidence, Mrs. Alexander. We learned about your will through your lawyer and wanted to meet you in person. He sat across from me. We've received a rather unusual offer. What kind? Your son Michael contacted us 2 weeks ago. Michael? Yes, he offered to buy this retirement home and transfer it to our organization for modernization. In return, he's asking us to return part of your bequeathed funds to you. I was stunned. He what? Mr. Michael said he wants to prove he loves you, not your money. He's willing to spend all his savings to buy this home to improve your living conditions. And how much is the home? $2 million. Does Michael have that kind of money? He's taking a loan against all his assets. Tears streamed down my face. My youngest son was ready to ruin himself to make my life better. And what does he want in return? For us to convince you to accept this gift. I was silent for a long time. Mr. Richardson, what if I propose another option? What's that? I'll buy the home myself with my own money, not the bequeathed funds. I'll transfer it to your organization to manage, and I'll reinstate Michael's inheritance. Are you sure? Absolutely. That evening, all 3 kids came to see me. Susan brought my grandkids, Michael brought his wife, and even David came with. Mom, Michael told us about his plan, Susan said. We want to help too. How? David's ready to take $1 million loan, said. He wants to build a modern medical center at the home. David blushed. Mom, I acted horribly, but I love you, and I'm ready to prove it with actions. And I'll open a beauty salon here, Susan added, free for all residents. Older people deserve to feel beautiful too. I looked at my children, unable to believe what was happening. Kids, Mom, Michael took my hands. We've learned the most important thing. Money runs out, but family is forever. Forgive us. I will, on one condition. What? I stay in this retirement home. Mom, why? Susan asked, surprised. Because there are people here who need help, and now that this place will have good owners, I want to be part of that story. David smiled. Moms, what about the wills? The will changes. Half the money goes to you, half to the charity. And the house? Michael asked. The house stays mine, in case I want to go back. And when will you want to? Susan asked. I looked at my children, my grandkids, my daughters-in-law, and realized I was truly happy for the first time in a long while. I don't know, maybe never, maybe tomorrow. The important thing is, now I have a choice. And for the first time in months, I was surrounded by a family that loved me not for my money, but simply because I'm their mother. Did you enjoy this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know where you're reading from. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories. Until next time.